Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Our guests today, including Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada, standing by, sponsored by Basant Motors. Spend a little too much this holiday season? Let us help you get by giving you a gift card with your next vehicle purchase. Learn more at basantmotors.com. Donnie from Nanaimo Tom into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox just ahead of Elliotte. Donnie 100% right on bridges shaking. One of my kids wanted to walk Lionsgate for his birthday. Kids loved it, but could hardly wait to get off.
Wow.
Same with the wife.
Wow.
I think I'm paraphrasing, Tom, but thanks for the submission. Meanwhile, it's snowing.
Toronto.
In Toronto. Looking at my notes here.
Yeah.
It's snowing in Toronto. Elliotte Friedman joins us just after shoveling. How are you, sir?
You know what? It's so bad, Don. I'm still in the middle of shoveling.
Wow.
I started at 11:30, so 8:30 a.m. your time, and I'm still going. I'm not done yet. I'm going right back out after I'm done.
Wow. Hey, speaking of shoveling, this is the perfect show to be on. So thanks for joining us.
That is true.
Hey, the latest on the Canucks GM search, Elliotte.
I think it's getting. I think we're getting close to the end here, guys. I would handicap it. I thought there was a chance Montreal could be done today. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Montreal might be middle of the week, but I thought Montreal 1, Vancouver 2. I still think it's probably that way, but if Montreal moves back into the middle of the week, I think we're getting closer here on Vancouver. I think. I know it's been reported 5. Someone suggested to me this morning they heard it was maybe a final 4. And I think the couple of the interesting scenarios here are this. Number one, I think that Ryan Johnson will have an increased role out of this, so I'm curious to see what that's going to be. Number two, I'm also very curious to see if in any way, shape, or form Jim Rutherford is looking at hiring more than one of the people that he's interviewed for the GM job. Will he possibly go to them and say, look, I want someone here for the GM, but I also might be interested in you as well? I'm curious to see if that ends up happening. I did have someone, like, as you guys know from the beginning, I've been a Patrick Allvin guy. I think he's the favorite until proven otherwise. I did have someone say to me this weekend they thought that might be changing. Now, I'm always very careful around this point in time, guys, because I think what does happen is there starts to get to be some misinformation. Sometimes I think people throw things out there to throw people off. So I don't know what to make of that. But I did have at least one person say to me this weekend he was beginning to wonder if the favorite was beginning to change, although I hesitate to commit to that. I had heard good things about Nellenby's conversation with Rutherford, but nobody's commenting for sure to say whether that's 100% true.
Elliotte, there's a connection with this gentleman with both Montreal and Vancouver. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when it comes to his managerial future, what about Roberto Luongo?
I just think the question is Roberto Luongo in a position where he wants to leave Florida right now? And, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I do think Roberto Luongo will be a GM in the NHL someday if he wants to be. Number one, he's got a chance, like the way they're going right now, they got a chance to win the Stanley Cup. And, I know there's only 32 of these jobs open and you have to strike when it's hot, but, he's on a team that's going to have a chance to win the Stanley Cup this year. And number two, I just don't know if he thinks it's the right time. I think it's always smart to do interviews. But one of the things I'd kind of heard, and, I could always be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I just heard that, with the final 3 as they got to that in Montreal, that it seemed to be unlikely it was going to go in Luongo's direction. And I think that might be as much his choice as it is theirs.
Elliotte, I know it's far away, but we're starting to talk about teams and what they might do at the trade deadline. In Vancouver, you got to keep an eye on Tyler Mott. You got to keep an eye on Besser. Those are 2 contractual things that may or may not happen before the deadline. Are you hearing anything regarding Vancouver and trades right now?
Rick, you've been talking about Mott a little bit, and I have heard a little bit of him. I think he's a player that intrigues teams. You're always looking for guys who can play hard minutes in the playoffs, and he's definitely one of those people. You guys have been stirring up the Halak stuff. I'm not convinced he's going anywhere. I am not convinced at all that he would be willing to waive, although we still have 2 months to see where that goes. But right now, I don't believe that's the case. Although I don't like dealing in absolutes. So I would say unlikely, but I wouldn't say impossible. But yes, I have heard a little bit of Mott's name since you started talking about him. I think he's someone that there is interest in. And those are probably the other things too is I think there's always going to be interest in, players like Luke Shannon, things like that, because teams are always looking for D, but nothing too intense yet. I think in defense in particular, I think we have to wait to see what happens with names like Chychrun, Giordano, Sherratt, and then we'll see where we go with some of the other players here.
Elliotte, you've been all over this story. Evander Kane, you've been on it top to bottom. What's the latest with Evander Kane, Elliotte?
The teams are hoping they'll have clarity, Rick, this week. The NHL refuses to say that there's a specific timeline. I do think the league has talked to Kane directly. I do think that they have communicated with the border services people in Canada directly. Like I said, teams are hoping they're going to have an answer this week, but the league has said is not going to be pinned down to a specific timeline. But I do think there is an understanding that everybody wants a ruling one way or the other sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't be shocked if we heard something this week.
Okay.
Elias Pettersson, he scores a couple of goals in Washington. What's the word outside of Vancouver when it comes to Elias Pettersson and his struggles here?
Too good for this.
Yeah.
I think that's, I think that probably the same way that people in Vancouver see it, Don. It's that he's better than this. And, the thing I thought was really interesting was that the messaging around Pettersson, I think, is really interesting. That Boudreau is trying to paint it as the player is involved in these conversations. Like, for example, he wanted to kill penalties in his first game. They had him kill penalties. When they put him on the wing, it was, he's a guy who said he's wanted to play the wing before. I think that's smart. I think that's the way to play it. I think it takes some of the heat off the player, because if the team doesn't do that, it's like, oh, okay, they're kicking him to the wing now. No. He's involved in this conversation. To me, it's very smart messaging. But I do think there's a general realization that this slump has gone on too long, and the expectation is he's gonna deliver as a star player, which he is. And I think the Canucks, like everybody else, want to see a lot more days like yesterday as opposed to what was before yesterday.
So many people feel the Oilers hit rock bottom, although there's still a lot of the season left. But rock bottom Saturday versus Ottawa, giving up the 5 third-period goals. Any sense, Elliotte, of Connor McDavid's or Leon Draisaitl's frustration level?
I think, Don, all you had to do was watch the postgame on Saturday night and see that McDavid media briefing, and you know what his frustration level is. It's through the roof. Both those guys are frustrated. They don't want to lose. Ken Holland, they had their scouting meetings this week. They're all out in California where the owner is. I'm sure he's hearing it firsthand from the owner right now about what he thinks should be done. Look, we know that Ken Holland wants to try to stay the course, but if you have too many games like the one on Saturday night, you can't stay the course. If they don't turn it around quick, they're going to have to do something. It's just unavoidable.
Back to shoveling?
Back to shoveling.
Oh, hold it a second, Elliotte.
Yes.
Hold on a sec. Let me find it.
Take your time, Rick. Show ends at noon.
This is from our text line, Cedar Shingles in Abbotsford. Didn't Elliotte Friedman look like Vincent Gambini from My Cousin Vinny on the weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
You had a red suit on the weekend. Beautiful.
You know what? By the way, Carlson Kuhlman has been claimed by the Seattle Kraken. I can tell you that right now. So that's just something that happened a little bit here. You know what? First of all, I love the suit. Secondly, that's a great pick of Joe Pesci. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I love the suit. It was fun. There's a Vancouver tie-in. I saw Ryan Reynolds wear it.
Right.
Of red with Gal Gadot and The Rock. So I said, you know what? I would try that if you guys were okay with it. They did. And I love it when people crap all over me. I think it's hilarious. I love the memes. I love the people who rip me. You know what, guys? Your show's fun. Sports supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
Fun,
So,
entertain, have a laugh, Elliotte.
Rick, you as much as anybody else, you want people in on the joke to have fun with you, even if that means they poke fun at you. I love it. I think people have fun with it, and I'm great with that.
And Canucks Twitter loves you, Elliotte. You're the number one fan of Canucks Twitter. You know that.
I put it this way. We rip each other, we poke fun at each other, but they keep me employed. I like that.
And they know who you are, red suit or not.
The red suit or not, they know who I am. And anytime I'm compared to Joe Pesci, I will take that.
A good day. Good day.
Thanks, Elliotte. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Couple of weeks. We'll talk to you in a couple of
See you later,
Mondays.
pal. I'll call you later. I got to talk to you.